Hello and welcome to Virginia's Super Slideshows. In this particular slideshow, I will be analyzing the Philadelphia 3rd grade reading guidelines. During this analysis, we will be reviewing foundations, organization, content, assessment, and closing with a critique. After doing some research, I found that the School District of Philadelphia School Reform Commission's Council is made up of teachers who have 40+ years of experience, a gentleman who served as city councilman, he's also a lawyer, a secretary of public affairs, and she has also worked in many other branches of government, a public service CEO, and also a lady who has started the Parental Power Group and believes in parental involvement in all aspects of education. These members, plus the superintendent of schools and the associate superintendent of academics and curriculum accountability, make up the team that developed the curriculum map for the 2010-2011 third grade school year. I feel that it is pertinent to add that while I was looking through their meeting minutes, that children from the school district came to discuss their ideas and feelings about what is going on within the school district and what they would like to do, thus taking in and making sure that the needs of the students who are also stakeholders are being met. We learned from Heidi Haynes Jacob that mapping is no longer a curriculum committee, but instead using a council, which is what Philadelphia is doing. Their mission statement talks about how it really takes a community in order for the students and school district to be successful. This is true because they show that on their curriculum council. It's made up of diverse people with diverse backgrounds. This is vital when it comes to school levies and other aspects of parental and community involvement within the district. There is also a saying at the top of the guidelines that good instruction is the best test preparation. This is important because sometimes I feel that we are so worried about the test that our instruction lacks in order to get all the standards in and making sure that our students are ready for the test, when in all actuality, if we're teaching the standards and we're making sure that our instruction is meaningful, we are getting them ready for the test. Organization. Within our text, we learn that organization of curriculum really tells how successful or that their lack of success a curriculum really is. Marzano and Kendall state that curriculum standards focus on the kinds of activities that should take place within the classroom as teachers work to convey specific types and information to students. The Philadelphia school does their mapping for an entire year, and it is standards-based, in which they are broken into 4 different cycles. As with many other states, Philadelphia has also adopted the Common Core curriculum standards. The standards were created to ensure that all students graduate from high school with the skills and knowledge necessary to succeed in college, career, and life, regardless of where they live. Also, with the Common Core standards, students are building upon prior knowledge that was gained during their 2nd grade year and solidifying these skills within their 3rd grade year, while learning new concepts that will be solidified or mastered the following year. The map explains what is going to be taught within that 3rd grade reading year. The planning and scheduling timeline for the year is a spiraling curriculum, which we learned from Armstrong is where a concept is taught multiple times throughout the year so that the student can master it. There are also benchmarks, which are the middle of the year and the end of the year, but this will be discussed during a later time. The Council has created a year guide for all grade levels in all subject areas. I appreciate that within the mapping at the top of each cycle, there are goals for the teacher. This is very similar to the Ohio SMART goal that teachers come up with every year. Also, the document is set up in a manner that is very user-friendly, thus making teachers more apt to utilize the document. There are teacher objectives, content performance descriptors, PA standards, and the textual reference. This also helps to show what you are not only meeting and teaching the state standards for your students, but you are also meeting the teaching and professional standards. Content. Since there is a teacher on the Curriculum Council team that has 40+ years of experience, the content is appropriate for students' needs. Also, after reading the minutes from the meeting, it is obvious that they collaborate with the students to see what their interests and needs are and work around that. The guidelines also explained what background the teacher will need in order to successfully teach the content. Not only do they explain what the teachers need to know in order to teach the content, but they also provide activity ideas in order to teach these standards and targeted objectives. Then there is also a section within the guidelines that is set up for how they are supporting 21st century learning. Examples of this are through understanding diversity, team collaboration, lifelong learning, self-direction, and many other 21st century ideals. These are the same ideas that were discussed within Learning Session 7. Also, it should be noted that the PARCC testing and Common Core standards are real-world problems. So again, they picked up the PARCC and Common Core standards, and those life skills, those 21st century skills, are still being integrated into their curriculum. Assessments. David Armstrong talked about high-stakes testing and standardized-based curriculum. This curriculum map really shows how and why it is placed under this particular category. The guide has sample assessment items that shows how they are connected to the PSSA, which again, this was from 2011, and now Pennsylvania along with Ohio are taking the PARCC testing. The new PARCC testing has a middle and end of the year assessment in both English and mathematics. The guidelines are set up in cycles to make sure that specific standards are taught by those particular time frames. The document not only stresses the need for standardized test prep, but they also incorporate authentic assessments. I really like the idea under the performance descriptors, they have that students using self-monitoring strategies through rubric, which we learned from Dr. Smith's class, helps to build the intrinsic motivation, which is also a vital 21st century skill. The School District of Philadelphia does a great job utilizing their council members. As previously stated, they are made up of an eclectic background of individuals who, with teaching experience and higher degrees of education themselves. They also include their student body, which is an important aspect to consider. Heidi Jacobs stated that it is important to have a council made up of not only just teachers, and that they come back to the table for discussion about the curriculum model. It is evident through their minutes that they meet monthly to talk about what is working within the classroom and any changes that may be occurring or need to occur. They do offer problem-solving cooperative settings in which the students work together in order to solve a posed problem. These are again pertinent skills needed for 21st century workplace. As stated earlier, Pennsylvania has adopted the Common Core standards. These standards do an excellent job building upon prior knowledge gained from previous grade levels. Since being a teacher in Ohio, I am used to the Ohio Department of Education's curricular setup. I feel that perhaps there are aspects of their guidelines that Philadelphia could adopt to enhance their guidelines. These are, but are not limited to, providing one example of an in-depth lesson and letting the teachers construct their own lesson plan from the other standards or concepts. While the Philadelphia guidelines provide the resources to use, I feel that these guidelines could lead to some discrepancies. For example, the wiki case study about the young teacher who used outside resources to fulfill their teaching needs. Perhaps they should write in the opening letter that these are just guidelines and that the teachers are allowed to use outside resources, especially to meet the needs of all their students. We learned that not all students learn the same and that we need to provide them with manipulative visuals and other resources during the lesson. The other con that I saw while viewing the document was that nowhere in there did they talk about any kind of intervention um, that would be needed if the student didn't understand the concept. It's very rigorous. It's set up in a time. It's almost constraining to where it's set up in a time, and if the student doesn't get it, they just move on. I find this to be hard considering I have students who have IEPs and they don't normally get the concept the first time. I understand that the document is set up so it's spiraling, so eventually they will get it, but I feel that perhaps they should have in there somewhere noted about students who have IEPs or that may need RTI. I think that would make their document that much easier to use for intervention specialists, for example. In conclusion, Philadelphia YAG is great for first-time teachers, and one can tell that time and effort has been placed on creating this document. I think Philadelphia, their council did a great job. You can tell that this is not that wasn't their first year doing this, creating this type of document, and I really like the idea that it's a collaboration of many people, and I think David Armstrong and Heidi Jacobs would say that their curriculum, that their guide, they did a great job with it. So thanks for watching. This is Virginia Pavelchek signing off.